On today's show, Michelle Pfeiffer becomes royalty. Chucky's wife is clearly the breadwinner. And could Infinity War really beat The Force Awakens? It's true. All of it. Movie Talk starts right now. How many times this weekend you guys seen Infinity War?
I saw it a second time on Friday.
Yeah? I got 3 on the docket. You've seen it twice.
I've seen it once.
You've seen it once, twice.
3 times a lady.
3 times.
I love
An Infinity War. A whole lot of stuff going down in that movie, and we have the box office score. Before we get to that, I want to welcome, let's go back to the wide just for a second, because that is Kristian Harloff. No, you're right there. Oh. There's Jon Schnepp. I am merely Mark Ellis. Whether you're watching us right now on YouTube or after the fact, or you're listening with your eardrums on our podcast, make sure you guys check out all the wonderful Collider shows you can on our podcast feeds, including this Movie Talk feed right here. And as I just told our panelists, and I want to let everybody else know, we're not going to be doing any Infinity War spoilers today. We're going to let you guys know if that becomes the case, if a news story breaks, if something that we need to talk about, things that actually happen in the movie, we're going to be able to alert you both if you're watching the show and if you're listening on the podcast. I want to make sure that we are conscientious to everybody who has not yet seen Infinity War, but we are going to reveal the numbers that it did opening weekend, and they're pretty big. As a matter of fact, they're the biggest that we've ever seen here on Earth. Infinity War was released domestically to the tune of $258 million, just a smidgen over that number. As a matter of fact, the original projections were around 250, which still would have had it beating The Force Awakens, $248 million, and now it is $10 million clear of that number. That's where the record stands, and we also have a new domestic plus a worldwide record. Yeah, we're this close. We're this close because the movie didn't open in China, and it opened in China May 11th and probably continued to demolish there, as these movies do pretty well overseas. Jon Schnepp, you hear that the movie came out and it actually ended up defeating the record holder, Force Awakens. I didn't think we'd see that record fall for quite some time, and we saw it in the matter of 3 years. What does this say to you?
Well, it's pretty amazing. If you look at the top 10, they're all in the last 10 years. So, I mean, it's like the box office and the cost of what it takes to go to see a movie has really risen so incredibly that all other movies from the 80s and the 70s just can't compete with or even the 90s. These are all like recent films that are in the top 10 box office. But, I was talking with Kristian a couple weeks ago about I didn't think that Avengers Infinity War could beat the Star Wars thing, because Star Wars was like a bubbling kind of waiting for 15 years of after the middle, prequels, then all of a sudden this new excitement of 7, 8, 9, we never thought we were going to get these movies. The trailers look cool. So, I mean, that kind of energy and excitement. But then as Avengers Infinity War got closer and closer, i.e. even within the last 2 weeks of it, right before it came out, you're like, wow, it was palpable how much people were excited, myself included. It was like, I could see it kind of beating Star Wars. It's but once I'd seen the film, last week, I felt like, yeah, it's definitely going to make $300 million. I was like, I revised mine to 268, but it actually made 258. So I was like, still pretty incredible. But, honestly, I'm not a big box office person. I care more about the film. So I'm so glad that Avengers Infinity War is an incredible movie. All of us have seen it, we're going to at least see it multiple times. I saw it a second time on Friday. It held up so much more because you'll miss so many of the little moments that are in there when you see it with a giant, massive audience, because people are laughing and having a good time or freaking out. So you want to be able to see the nuances, and they are there.
Yeah, that's the credit I can say to the movies after seeing it 3 times now. It holds up to what I was thinking the first time I saw it. And you're right, you always get to see little nuanced things that you didn't see the first time or the first 2 times in a 2.5-hour movie. Kristian, it beat Star Wars. You and I are both Star Wars fans. We had very emotional reactions to the trailers for The Force Awakens. Did you think this was going to happen? And if not initially, when did your thought process change that this was within the realm of possibility?
No, I always thought it certainly had a shot, and to be completely honest, it deserves it because of what we're saying. You're not wrong to where this build-up for Star Wars, that type of fever is unbeatable, that fever alone. But you couple that with, this is 10 years of the MCU building up, really putting together an ultra serialized story here that culminates here in this movie. And you couple that again with the fact that these people, that all the word of mouth from people who saw it right away, and then fans who got a chance to see it on the Thursday screening, and then people already going back to see it again because there are those holy crap moments all over the movie. And when you put together something like that to where it seems like it's not, that it means something, those 10 years of watching those movies means something, that means a lot to the audience. And that's why when you hear dopey comments like James Cameron and these people are like, it's the same movie. It's not. And this movie proves that it's not the same movie. It really takes you from A and gets you to B. And then you're waiting for more stuff, and again, without saying anything else. And I was saying anywhere between 230 and but if it makes 250, 260, I thought 300 was that's an insane prediction. Not just from you, I've heard that from a bunch of different people that 300. Did you say 300?
I heard it from Roca. No, I did not say 300. I think the Mega's just shot for 300.
Please, look, everybody got to get out of the way of Overboard coming up. But I think that's. It doesn't surprise me at all. What's going to be interesting is what happens when Avengers 4 comes out next year. Because the difference, like you were saying with Star Wars, and you've said this many times, you're never going to get that feel from, the prequels leading up to Force Awakens. You're never going to get that. You are going to get this feel again because now you know that for Avengers, because now you know that the next movie comes out in May or whatever it's April or May. You only have to wait a year. And a lot of people love this movie, so I can't imagine what the next one's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that the next Avengers movie is the only one that has a chance at dethroning this movie from the all-time domestic record? Does Episode 9 have any sort of? I think after all of the fan sniping at each other and just disagreements over the mythology with The Last Jedi, I don't think Episode 9 has a prayer right now. Now we haven't seen any promotional material for it yet. The movie hasn't even been shot. But if there is a trailer that comes out, that might change our minds. I don't think Episode 9 has a shot. I think Infinity War, whatever you want to call the fourth one, has a chance at it. I think Black Panther 2, if they make any movies like that, there might be a chance down the road. But right now, I don't see a movie that's going to dethrone this, Schnepp.
Well, I would never bet against JJ. I mean, he's the guy who put Star Wars back on the map, and it was a lot of his decisions that helped create that fever to see The Force Awakens. So, I'm actually really interested to see what he's going to do with this third Star Wars film in this trilogy. And once we get that first trailer, I think maybe you might change your mind, or we might be in the same situation. But Avengers 4, I agree, has that chance to topple this, which is already quite an achievement. 258. That's hard to even fathom in a couple days. It made more in its opening weekend than Justice League made in its entire theatrical run. No, I'm not clowning on it. I'm just saying that's if you want to compare these two franchises, that's a comparison. We have here's the 5 months, here's 3 days. Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying is the comparison is that everybody wanted to see Avengers Infinity War, and rightfully so, because it's an incredible film.
But it was also the lead up. It was the lead up of all the other movies that I think that, and this is not a DC versus MCU conversation here, because the thing is, those movies unfortunately just didn't have enough build up to get you to the excitement level.
They did not have 10 years of excitement.
Right. And that's the difference here, because do I think Episode 9 will beat it? No, I don't. I think that because of exactly what you just said, I think that there's just, I think Solo's gonna play a lot into it, though, to be honest with you too. I think that I've kind of flipped, because when the Solo trailers and everything too, I was like, I find myself really getting excited for this movie now, especially what we're going to talk about in a little bit. But that could give the fans a little bit more hope, and the fact that JJ is coming back here. I don't see it, though, because the reason why, I think that the younger generation, I think that the MCU is their Star Wars. I think that I think that there's obviously a younger generation who loves Star Wars, but I think that the MCU, a lot of people have grown up with the MCU the same way that we kind of grew up with Star Wars. And I think that when you get these movies 2-3 a year, a lot of these younger fans are really like this. To them, this is their Darth Vader, Thanos.
This is The Empire Strikes Back, is what I keep hearing, but it's like, this is darker than The Empire. It's at least to me.
But in general, I'm just saying, I understand. I mean, again, Star Wars is Star Wars, and the fans themselves are they're. It's a $210 million opening for sure. The Episode 9. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be a huge opening, and it's going to make big numbers. But this is a phenomenon, this movie.
What I will say about Avengers in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, which Avengers opened and it already beat Justice League, it also already beat Logan's entire domestic run too. So there's a lot of comic book movies that come out that never smell these numbers in its entire run, much less opening weekend. But what the Marvel movies have been able to do that Star Wars has not pulled off, at least in my mind, is that you can release 2-3 Marvel movies a year, and I'm going to get excited for each one of them. Now, I'm not going to get to the anticipation level that I, as a huge Star Wars fan, being a kid, would for a Star Wars fan, but I don't think Star Wars is ever going to be able to match that as far as releasing that many movies in this concise period of time. In a decade, we've gotten, what, 20 movies that we all like really at least like and care about, and it all led up to this. With all the interconnectivity, I don't think Star Wars has designs set on doing that, on having that many movies that all pertain to the same exact thing. Star Wars wants to release movies that take place in vastly different time periods in all corners of the galaxy that don't necessarily have to tie in. Is that how you see the future of the Star Wars universe? Or do you think that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm are looking at the MCU as a template to say, we should be doing more stuff like this?
Well, they're definitely looking at MCU. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy was at the premiere of Avengers, and she has
contacts. She could probably get it for free.
But is she going there to run? What I'm talking about is like she's there to look at it, what's going on, to study it, and to enjoy it. But do I think that Star Wars in some type of plan could do 2 or 3 a year? Are they capable of it? Absolutely. But the thing is, right now, when you hear that as a fan, like, I don't want that. I mean, they got to get everything else together first. They haven't earned it yet to do 2 or 3 a year. Marvel earned it. Marvel didn't just come out and start doing well, although they did with Hulk and Iron Man. But they haven't. But Marvel started to earn it to where you then wanted 1 or 2 a year, and it works because they started to make a story connecting. The tricky part with Star Wars is that right now these movies don't connect all the way. Rogue One connects to the original trilogy, and Solo kind of connects to the original trilogy, but not in the same way that the MCU does.
Right.
But who knows what the hell Benioff and Weiss are doing? Series of films. Who knows what Rian Johnson's trilogy will be inside of this new, outside of the galaxy that we know. Maybe they connect, they make new characters that you start building on new lore that you want these. It's not out of the realm. Right now, I don't see it happening for a little bit, but I still don't think they know exactly whether or not they're even going to release Obi-Wan yet. They've got to figure a lot of stuff out creatively before they try to tackle something like this.
Yeah, the number that I'm interested in the most right now, anyway, is I want to see what Solo does. And Solo has one huge advantage that Episode 9 is not going to have, and that is Han Solo is going to be in the movie. So
it's May.
I think that's going to help. And that's coming out in May. So I'm excited to see what that number is. I'm curious to see what the Ant-Man and the Wasp box office is, because if you look at what the MCU was doing opening weekend before Black Panther and Infinity War, Thor Ragnarok opened to $122 million. And that was a critically praised movie. That was in November. So then Black Panther changes the game in multiple ways, one of which is that it opens at $200 million, getting back to that original Avengers number. And then you have this just blowing everything out of the water. So I'm excited to see what Ant-Man and the Wasp does, what the next MCU movie after that on the docket right now is Captain Marvel in March or April of next year. And then obviously you have your Avengers 4 movie coming.
Captain Marvel is going to crush. Captain Marvel.
That's going to be a giant film for many reasons.
Yep.
But Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think the first Ant-Man made like $65 million opening weekend.
Yeah,
it'll top that.
It'll definitely top that. But I don't see like Ant-Man and the Wasp, and this is nothing against Ant-Man or the Wasp, as I thought the film was really fun. It was great. But I feel like even like when we get another trailer, like in a couple of months, we'll probably see a trailer with Hawkeye in it. My guess is that Hawkeye is going to be in that movie. Or it could be completely wrong, which I don't mind being wrong. It's just not of the same scale as Infinity War. So I feel like Marvel fans are all going to go see that movie, and I think regular fans who like it just doesn't have that like you've got to see Infinity War thing. So I mean, will it make more than $65 million? Yes, it'll probably make $85 to $100 million, but is it going to be like $287 million?
No, I don't think it's going to have that.
I don't see that.
No, but I think it's going to what it's going to do is that because of this movie, and again, we have to be very careful how we say things, but because of this movie in general, I think people are going to be like, anything now in the MCU that's coming out that have seen this movie are going to want to see something like, well, wait a minute, how does this pertain to what I just saw? And I think that Ant-Man and Wasp will certainly see that.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think anywhere between 100 and 120 is where I see Ant-Man and the Wasp kind of landing.
Captain Marvel, man, that's going to be explosive.
Yeah. And if I could give one friendly piece of advice to Josh McCouga, don't bet against Christian as far as the Ant-Man and the Wasp box office goes.
Still be wearing a tutu.
You did the first one, because you're going to be dressing in more ridiculous attire, which actually is something you enjoy doing anyway. We're going to move on to our next story. I do want to remind you guys, though, A Quiet Place, $10 million coming in at number 2, and at number 5 at the box office this weekend, a little movie called Black Panther. And now we go to Deadline's report that a movie is in the works currently from Annapurna and Plan B Studios, and that movie is focused around the Weinstein scandal and the investigation into it. Now, when I first heard the story, I thought that, okay, are we sensationalizing this? Are we not glorifying it, but are we just doing this for a quick buck because this is in the news? And then I read more about it, and what this is aiming to be is a movie that, kind of like the way that Spotlight was a movie that was a Oscar-winning film that helped kind of show what was happening behind the scenes of the Boston Globe when there was the Catholic priest scandal. Here, so we have the New York Times reporters Jodi, Kantor, and Megan Twohey are going to be the leads in this movie. They're not going to be playing themselves. They're going to be cast, obviously, but it's going to be their story of the investigative journalism that went down when all of this started to come up, and their ability to publish these stories and really get the ball rolling and shine a light on the Me Too movement, amongst a number of other things, and bring this monster to justice. So if that is the angle that this movie's taking, all of a sudden I'm singing a different tune, and I'm very interested to see what this can bring to the table, because in recent years we've had Spotlight, we also had The Post. Those are two movies that are newspaper, fast-paced. Hey, we're breaking something that the American people, that the world needs to hear about, even though it may not charm their ears off to hear it. Christian, do you want to hear this story or see it on the big screen?
Do I want to? Not necessarily, but I think that it's a story that should be told. Yeah, and I think that more about this garbage bag. It's like just his stupid face in the background makes me uneasy.
He's staring at you.
He's disgusting. But the fact that they're doing the movie Spotlight style, I think, is the way to do it, and it's the way that you want to bring. If you're going to bring attention to all of this via film, then that's the way to do it. That's absolutely the way to do it. But this guy is just everything that was wrong about Hollywood in general, minus all the despicable, horrible stuff that he did, just that what he's been accused of. Just his persona in the way that he treated people in business, not even the creepy, horrible stuff that he was doing. He was just a despicable human that should not have been in this business, but it happens all the time. And then he was exposed through these reporting. So I think the reporters should get the spotlight, if you will, shown on them to show how this was exposed.
And that's the angle I want to take, because I think that Spotlight did a tremendous job of that. A movie that I think it kind of put their toe in the water with that and didn't really get in as far as I wanted it to is the Paterno movie that came out on HBO, because I watched that Paterno movie and I thought it was too much Pacino as Paterno, because half that movie is just him in his house and they're just kind of like, I don't really want to talk about this. But they had a storyline about the person breaking the news that I wanted to see more of, and I didn't get into that. So I don't want to focus on Weinstein at all necessarily. I want to see the reporters and the focus on that. I mean, somebody's probably going to be cast to play Weinstein Schnepp, but I want to see the focus on the New York Times reporting. How do you see this movie playing out?
Well, I was thinking, is this Me Too soon? Almost like, is that a hashtag where it's like, because this is still going on. This isn't a was, this is a now.
But it'll always be going on.
This kind of ugliness and abuse that happens in Hollywood, especially with executive producers using their power to ruin things, so to speak, and ruin people's careers and take advantage of women, has been going on forever. It's still going on, and obviously none of us want to see that continue. So the Me Too movement is really important. I don't want to see that that spotlight taken away because of somebody trying to make money on this. So as long as this is done in the same way, in the same breath as a lot of these other All the President's Men or Spotlight with that kind of thing, it shouldn't be about Harvey Weinstein. It shouldn't be like, we saw that footage rolling while we were talking. It's like, that's Harvey Weinstein. It's going to be cast by an actor, someone, probably well-known will play him. Who knows how they're going to handle that, but it's not something to glorify this guy. It's something to this was indicative of what's been going on on in Hollywood for years and years and years, and I'm glad it's finally changing, and we all have to be active about that.
It's a tough call to get from your agent. Like, hey, we got a role for you.
Right.
You're not going to like playing it, because
Yeah.
you're right. This is such a recent story. This isn't like somebody like Jared Leto playing Mark David Chapman, where it happened 20, 25 years ago. This is a much different topic.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too soon, though.
They should punish Kevin Spacey and make him play him.
That and then there's a whole hubbub about that. Then obviously Christopher Plummer comes in and plays Weinstein. I think you look at this story, and I think it's the perfect timing, because if any of this stuff does start to die down, you don't want that to happen, and you want to shine a spotlight on it. So if this movie comes out and it starts the conversation a little bit, I think it would probably be perfect timing, because again, we're talking about this right now. Movie's not going to see the light of day for at least a year and a half, I would imagine. So I think it should be rightly timed, as long as the movie has the proper spotlight on the New York Times reporters. We move on to our next story, which is Annabelle is back. She's going to be, don't you do that face yet, Kristian. Annabelle 3, it's going to be written and directed this time by Gary Dauberman. Now, Dauberman was the writer on the first two Annabelle movies, as well as one of the writers on It and It Part 2, which has yet to be released. Now, Dauberman will be making his directorial debut on this picture, and it will continue to explore the lore of Annabelle. The actual plot details right now are being kept secret, but the story is going to be focused on a porcelain doll that is possessed by a demonic force. Kristian Harloff, oh boy, not even in. Okay, there it is. Okay, well, for everybody who's listening, they're doing their stupid faces that they usually say for the end of the show, but they just couldn't hold it back for Annabelle 3. No excitement about this whatever, because Annabelle Creation was a really well-done movie directed by David Sandberg. This could be Gary Dauberman following in those foot. Annabelle Creation had a lot of good, unique scares, a lot of different styles of freaking you out.
It was okay. I mean, but here's the thing: is like,
man.
If you're a horror fan, I'm a giant horror fan. There's a lot of other movies that are amazing, that are awesome. A Quiet Place is incredible, is amazing, is awesome. Annabelle Creation is like...
They're just churning, and now they're just churning out the sequels now. It's like the second one was decent, so let's make a third one that we hope will be decent. It's like
stupid
it's a stupid doll.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, you dumb doll.
All right, well, I tried to defend it. I kind of agree with you, boys. Because they're fast-tracking this movie to come out in 2019. They want a July 3rd, 2019 release date. I think that this has less to do with the fact that they wanted to tie into the greater Conjuring universe, which Annabelle is a part of, and more so just that, hey, it's a summer horror movie. You're going to be able to make a quick buck, a lot like what The Conjuring did. I hope I'm proven wrong. Because
Conjuring did more than just make a quick buck, though. Conjuring was...
But it came out around the same time in July, is the point.
It did, yeah, because
it's a summer horror spectacular.
Yes, because the first movie earned that.
It did. It was an incredible film. It was horrific and scary and amazing.
The second one was pretty good, too.
It was.
And
it wasn't as good as the first.
No, but it earned the ability to open up in the summer. And again, because those are two movies that they put some thought and some effort into, and it wasn't just this premise of creepy doll.
Right.
That kind of stuff bores the piss out of me.
The doll itself looks creepy, but it's possessed by a demonic force, Kristian. I think that's what the focus has to be.
All I can say is I'm actually happy that the writer is also the writer of a ton of these other Conjuring universe films. He's writing The Nun. He wrote the first two Annabelles. So he's getting to direct for the first time. He's been the writer on all these different films. He also wrote a couple other horror films that I've seen.
Well, that's my question to you, is because I think that you could look at his track record and say either of the following statements make sense. That I really didn't like Annabelle, I didn't like the way he wrote it, or I really liked It. But with It, I mean, he's taking source material that was written by Stephen King, and he's prepping that for the big screen, which is a job in and of itself. It's such an important job. They give out Oscars for it, and he's also doing that for It Part 2. So he clearly knows his way around the horror world.
And you
should
take the job. And you should take the job if you're him. I mean, this is your first gig, and you know this universe. This is nothing against him. He should absolutely take this job to prove himself, to take idiots like me and say, look what I did there. And maybe now I can use that as my stepping stone. Look, it's Annabelle, but I wasn't getting offered any other gigs.
Look,
as far
Scott
as directing
Derrickson,
goes.
who directed Doctor Strange, did like Hellraiser 8 or 9 or whatever the hell it was.
You gotta get those chops.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what I mean. He's been in the field. He's written a bunch of cool movies that I've loved. Not necessarily the Annabelle series. So I'm like, look, if he gets his first director's job doing Annabelle 3, I'll be seeing the film. So.
Yeah, and David Sandberg. I mean, he did the second one, and now he's got this big comic book movie. He's working on Shazam, which I hope is good. And that all came from because he did this short, Lights Out, and then he directed the feature, Lights Out.
Lights Out was amazing.
My gripe is not necessarily with, it's not at all with the writers and the filmmakers of these movies, because again, they're taking the gig. They're going to put as much creative input as they can into this thing. It's not them that that is being lazy. It's a lot of the times it's the studio that says, "Ooh, wait a minute. A lot of people kind of spent their money and it costs us nothing to do this. Let's make a third, fourth, and fifth one. Who can we get to write it?" And this guy who's been writing said, "I'll direct it. I'll be able to direct it, make a decent movie."
Right.
And then someone goes, "Oh, I like what you did there. Made some money. Why don't you go ahead and direct this?" That's a very smart move for this guy, and it's exactly what he should be doing.
Can I interest you guys in the Nun movie?
Is that a true
Valak the
thing?
Nun? That comes out September.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be skipping that. I've seen Marilyn Manson in concert, so there's no real reason that I'm. So you know what I'm saying.
I'm excited about the Nun movie. All right, nuns, dolls, bring them all my way.
I got a nun
Sally
thing.
Field.
I got a nun thing, so I might go see it.
I don't believe Sally Field is reprising her role as the flying nun from the 1970s TV show. That's right, kids. Michelle Pfeiffer, she was around in the 70s just starting her career, and then she started to get to prominence in roles like Grease 2 and Scarface, and she's one of the most beloved actresses of our or any day, and now she is playing the Queen in the new Maleficent movie. Maleficent 2, set to star Angelina Jolie coming back as Maleficent. She used to be evil, and now we're not sure if she's evil or she's just turning evil or what's happening to Maleficent. And we also are going to have Elle Fanning coming back. Pirates of the Caribbean director Joaquin Roning is set to helm the sequel. Michelle Pfeiffer playing the Queen. Kristian, my question to you, because you have a daughter, you have two daughters, now you watch this stuff all the time. Sleeping Beauty, the Queen. Michelle Pfeiffer signing on to this. Are we going to expand the lore of the Queen? Because I don't remember the Queen having a huge impact in the Sleeping Beauty story.
Is it too late to ask for Annabelle 4?
No, you cannot, because you were so rude to the doll who did nothing to you. Well, she scared you a lot. You may not have Annabelle 4.
No, here's what I'm worried about with the fact of the Queen. It's the same thing that they did with the first movie. In the animated film, the Queen does not have a huge role, and even the King has a minimal role, but they're good people.
Right.
In the Maleficent movie, the King is an asshole. And in the other, everyone else in the movie except Maleficent, everyone sucks. So I'm sure the Queen will suck in this movie, and that's
It's Michelle Pfeiffer.
no,
We love Michelle
not as far as an actress goes.
I'm saying,
as far as
are you
they're
casting
going to
Michelle
make
Pfeiffer
the
to be
Queen
evil?
She's probably going to be the villain in the thing, and that's to me that's not what Maleficent is. So no, my daughter has watched the Sleeping Beauty animated film. She loves it. I'm not going to taint her vision of it by she's got Maleficent on her shelf, and I will not let her watch it.
Yeah. Bam.
I have some hope for this movie, and I'll tell you why. It's because they have Ed Screen. I'll get it eventually.
I like the actor.
He was a bad guy in Deadpool. He's in Hitman. He is going to be the villain, and they've mentioned that he's being cast as the villain in Maleficent 2. So if you already have one villain, and then you have Maleficent, who we think is going to do this weird like Darth Vader into Anakin back into Darth Vader thing at some point. Will that be at the end of Maleficent 2? I hope so, because then we set up Michelle Pfeiffer to be this great queen. I just don't know what is there for her to do other than just sit on a throne and be royal and regal looking, which she can pull off. But is Michelle Pfeiffer going to actually get to use some acting chops here, Schnepp?
Well, happy birthday, Michelle. So she just turned 60. She's an incredible actress.
And she's in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, we're going to see her in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that's, to me, like seeing her as the original Wasp will be pretty exciting. How can I still not talk about this film? Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be really exciting. Yeah, well, look, Maleficent 2, the setup will be, the third one opens the door to Sleeping Beauty, and Maleficent will eventually become the evil Maleficent that we all know her for. So they get 3 new movies out of it. The Maleficent trilogy, and then the brand new live-action Sleeping Beauty. You write it, it's writing itself right there. So Michelle, well, yeah, it is. I'm not going to do the shit rats for Michelle Pfeiffer, but I don't really care about Maleficent 2. I wanted her to do Bride of Frankenstein. I think Angelina Jolie is a great actress. Feel like she's wasting her time in these movies. So it's a big money grab. It's just like
producing it, man. It ain't a waste of her time.
Yeah, I know. Look, like Maleficent, all those Maleficent. That's not even my bracket. I'm too old to talk about this shit.
The movies make a lot of money, both domestically and worldwide. Have y'all seen Maleficent since we saw it in the theater?
No, I saw that one time.
You haven't seen it again?
Nope.
Because do you think Maleficent's going to turn back into an evil human being by the end of this movie?
You can't do it because you already retconned all the stuff that happened in the first movie with the spindle and all that stuff. Like they're already buddies. Like, why are they going to turn bad?
They could bring it back in the trilogy, yo. Like
that's
she's
what I'm saying. Is
yeah.
I feel like she's going to turn evil again. So it's going to be fun to watch. You like watching people turn evil, but you don't want to see Maleficent turn back evil.
They're not going to turn her evil.
They're going to turn her evil in the third movie.
I say there's a new movie I'm going to read about all this stuff. It's just called who cares?
Yeah, that's right.
She's going evil, man. I think she's going evil,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I don't really care about the movie, but I think she's going to go evil, and I'm excited to see Michelle Pfeiffer. Happy birthday, Michelle. Thank you for watching, as you do each and every day.
That's right.
Our last story before we get to your live Twitter
Tweets.
questions, which we are happy to take at the end of the show. Go ahead and start tweeting us at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. You can really do that anytime, day or night. The easiest way for us to find it is if you do it like right around now. But if you're driving, you pull over, you tweet. It's going to happen for you. Maybe your name and your question gets read live here on the air. We move on to our last story, which is a new solo featurette debuted over the weekend. I was just watching some basketball yesterday. It popped up on my Twitter feed, watched it, and I think this is the last source material I'm going to watch until we actually get to Solo. Because whenever you have a huge blockbuster movie come, and this featurette's really cool, by the way, you get to see Han behind enemy lines, you get to see them talking about it a little bit. Anytime you have a huge blockbuster movie like Infinity War or a Deadpool or a Solo movie, eventually you get to the line of demarcation when you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to watch any more promotional material. You already hooked me before I saw the first frame, and now I'm even more excited, and then you pump the brakes. So, Jon Schnepp, do you pump the brakes on Solo now with this featurette? Have you already pumped the brakes, and did you even watch the featurette, as was your homework?
I watched the featurette. I didn't want to because I was like, look, I said last week, I've seen enough Solo. I'm seeing the movie. I don't want to see any more tidbits or little nuggets of the like giveaways that are going to lead me to think more about what's going to happen in this movie. And this featurette has some of those, but not a lot. It has a few new scenes, a few new little moments. It's little moments from stuff we've already seen before, but like extrapolating, especially some stuff with Solo wearing some extra stuff around his face that gives you a little bit of a, oh, is that the certain thing that I've been hearing about for all these years? I wonder if that's that. So it's making me think about stuff. Man, am I excited to see the film. So the featurette, you know, with Ron Howard talking about Solo was fun to hear his take on it and to see everybody kind of chime in about it. So yeah, I mean, it's an exciting, well-made, and it's short, too. It's not like 10 minutes. I don't want to see any more about Solo. Just release the movie, stop with these mini featurettes. But I get it. If they got to do these things, which they have to do to get other people who might be on the fence, I'm not on the fence, so this isn't for me. So I think it's doing its job is what I'm trying to say.
And it did its job in more than one way, not just showing us what the footage is or like giving us a little bit, because it doesn't give that away that too much more than we already saw, but it also just does that thing that you needed to do with Han Solo movie and give us that positive PR spin, because I think it's almost completely washed away the stinker, the nerves that you might have had when you have directors leaving, a new director coming in, because from this featurette, Kristian, it just looks like everybody is having a ball making this movie, and that's what you want to see. You want to see one copacetic set getting excited to present this movie to you. Do you want to watch the featurette, or have you already passed that line that I mentioned where you don't need to see anything else and you're going to avoid other Solo things?
I did watch the featurette, and I wish I hadn't because I hated it. No, I'm just kidding. I loved it. It was great. It's the best thing that I've seen so far out of all the Solo stuff. It was because I think any concerns I had at all about the essence of Han Solo in this featurette was kind of washed away, because not just because of him. And there's like one moment in particular, I'm like, all right, I see it. It wasn't that. It was Kasdan. Kasdan, and many times has said that this is the most interesting character to him. It always has been. It's the one that he's been able to put out there and write the easiest, and he understood, he really responded to Han Solo back in the day, and he wanted to write it. That's why, if you believe all those reports, he was so adamant about it was Kasdan that was leading the charge of, no, these guys can't do all this improv. This is not what I wrote. This is not Han Solo. That's the big report that I happen to believe 100%, is that he was very protective, as he should be, over his script. It was not being brought to life. Him sitting in front of this featurette talking about it, and then hearing Emilia Clarke talking about how stupid he is and these things that he, I'm like, hey, that's Han Solo.
Yeah.
And the things that he's saying, and the way that, and then even hearing Alden say, you know, you're going to kind of learn him what he was right before he became the guy that you knew. It's like, okay, that's cool. Maybe so then I'm a little bit more forgiving, because it's like, okay, he's got to earn that persona. You know, he's got to get to that persona. But the question is, can they do it successfully? And in this featurette, it looks like they're on the road.
Schnepp, you buy into the fact that we've captured the essence of Han Solo, and if so, is that going to propel more people to the movie theater than you thought beforehand, when you're just putting a name and an actor in a cool vest?
It's Han Solo and Chewbacca, and I love that little line. You want me to say that? You know, I'm going to come up with a nickname for you, Chewie. It's like that's. So we're seeing these things happen, which we've known for some of us our entire lives, and it's sort of fun to see these origins done in a unique or original
Which
way.
can be a risk. It
It's
can be a
risky.
risk because I think that they did that, and it didn't always end up great in the prequels, where it's like, yeah, we've known about this stuff for a long time, but I didn't need to
Anakin
see
made
some of this.
C-3PO. It's like, come on.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah,
Big
I
difference.
know.
And the difference there is that a lot, and Leland Shee from the Lucasfilm Story Group had said this, that watching the next couple of things that are released, you're going to see things from Legends, which is the old stuff.
Right.
And because in the prequels, it was just kind of like George going, oh, yeah, we can just make that happen, and nobody's going to care, and everybody cared. But in this movie, they're going back, and you can see they're pulling stuff from old school Legend stuff, like Han being in the guard, and how the life debt stuff is what it looks like.
Right.
They're pulling the Kessel Run. There's stuff that's already been in there before that they've been talking about for a long time. This isn't thrown together stuff like a lot of the prequel stuff was.
I mean, I was even referring to the stuff that we all knew from the original trilogy that did happen. I mean, I'm talking about the Anakin Obi-Wan lightsaber battle, because I mean,
slopped together.
It was like, I've heard about this for a long time, and it was cool, but it wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way to me. So I've drank the Kool-Aid, whatever you call it. This featurette, I didn't need to see it, but then it helped actually just cement for me my excitement level. So I was like, yeah, I cannot wait to see Solo and see what they've done with Han Solo. I've been always like, when they announced a Solo movie, it's like, cool. I've never had any problems with these prequel films. Like, I want to see a Solo movie. I want to see a Boba Fett film. I would just like them to speed it up a little bit. I'm greedy. I want 2 movies a year. So that's
drinking the Kool-Aid. And I hope that Kool-Aid has some caffeine in it, because Jon Schnepp is going to be working very hard for your viewing pleasure today, because there's a whole lot of Infinity War content across our Collider video platforms. You can check out the reviews. You can check out the spoiler content if you've seen the movie. A whole lot of stuff, including a scoreboard vid where we made predictions. Did those predictions come true? And Jon Schnepp, you're going to have an exclusive Infinity War spoiler review up later today. What's going on?
Yeah, so a lot of the sweaties have been waiting for the Heroes to do our own spoiler talk, and that's what we're doing today. We're doing a regular episode of Heroes, and then a little bit later, an entire hour of Infinity War, all spoilers. It would be me, Robert, Amy, and Jay getting sweaty about Infinity War, and we're going to talk about what our feelings were about the film. If you haven't seen the movie and you're listening to it on a podcast, remember, it's called the Heroes Spoiler Special, just so you know. We are talking about everything that happens from beginning.
Today's Collider Heroes episode,
yes, is
no
non-spoiler.
spoilers.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to make the differentiation for people who still haven't seen it. It'll be the same crew of me, Robert, Amy, and Jay on today's Heroes episode. We're going to touch on Avengers Infinity War, the box office, and what our general thoughts are, but we are not going to talk spoilers on that specific episode. If you want to get deep into the film and hear our thoughts about it, tune into the Heroes Spoiler Special. That'll be up later today, and we're just going to get, I don't know, it might run over an hour. I don't know. I mean, everyone's like, it should be 2 hours. Relax. We're going to talk really fast, but it's going to get sweaty.
If I'm a betting man, yes, I'm going to say it's going to run over an hour, and it's going to be a well-deserved over an hour, because it's going to be fun to listen to them talk about all things Infinity War. Well, that movie has been in production for some time, Kristian, so people knew some stuff about the movie and spoilers could get out, unlike when you have a live event where we have no idea what's going to happen on June 2nd, so there's no possible way we could give away a spoiler, but I'm very excited to be at the El Portal Theater with you, hosting another live Schmodown. Tell us about it.
Yeah, there's a Star Wars match. You look at that one. That's the #1 contender. He's so good at Star Wars. Everybody says, oh, I'm so good. I could beat Ken Knapsack and those guys. Well, come on out. Prove it. Let's see how you do. Just in the audience, sitting there and watching. And I guarantee you that you're going to see the battle of these 3 Star Wars heads. The winner plays Sam Witwer for the Star Wars Championship at another date. But there's going to be some cool surprises. I think we have about 100 tickets left, I think, give or take. So go to schmodownlive.com, get those tickets, come out, and you meet a lot of the people there. You get involved, and the main event is the Shire Wolves versus Team Action. And there's some big stipulations coming on down the road here of this match. Stay tuned and watch the Schmodown. And lastly, I just want to tell you about the interview show, One-on-One. Just had Sinead DeFries on there.
Yeah.
And you talk about one of the most honest people I've ever sat down and talked to for like an hour and a half. It's up on the channel now. Sinead is on there. We have some really good guests coming down the pike. So please check out, not only on this channel here, but all of our shows. Go to Apple Podcasts. Check out the Podcast One app. We have a lot of great shows. You got the Afterthoughts show that's on this feed, the Movie Talk feed. A lot of great shows for you guys to check out.
And I'll be in New York June, the week after the live show. I'm going to be in New York doing some shows. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. Oh, look, it's not a real toy. Sorry, I can't actually sell those.
What?
I mean, if the New York shows sell out as well, then maybe I can produce some. But no toys right now, you can see me do stand-up, and that's a whole lot of fun, too. Okay, we move on to our live Twitter questions. You can tweet us anytime at Collider Video. Clay19 is up first, and he says, which actor turned director are you most excited to see more from? So if you can see the next movie of either Joel Edgerton, Jordan Peele, or John Krasinski. You're at a theater. Those are your three options.
Oh, that's it? Only those three?
Which theater you going into? I'll let you throw a wild card in there if you want.
I want to see what Affleck's going to do again, too. I think he's still got a young career as far as directing goes.
Okay.
I think that the last movie, it's unfair for people to already write him off because he was going through a lot of stuff. And I think that we're all human beings. And at the time he was making the movie, there were some things going on in his life, and he maybe bled over into his professional career. It happens.
I'm very upset that he stole my Force Awakens talks for that movie, Live by Night. I wore it better.
Yeah, and that movie wasn't good. But he is a great director. Not a good one, a great director. So I'm very excited to see what Ben Affleck can do. Out of the three options, I'd probably say Krasinski right now. I think that Quiet Place to me really kind of kicked my ass, and I want to see what he does next.
Yeah, it's interesting when you have a movie come out like that, and it's just from a mind that you're like, oh, wait, you're into horror movies. Same thing with Jordan Peele with Get Out. So that's why I think I would take Peele slightly, because I trust Peele's sense of humor more than anything else, and how it can go to dark places if you want it to. So just the Twilight Zone-y feel of Get Out is something that I really appreciated. And so I want to see what other episodes of a Twilight Zone thing could that mind create. So I'm taking that. But don't count out Edgerton either, man, because Edgerton is a dark dude. He can write some dark stuff. So all three of these, you can have like a really creepy movie from.
Peele, though, the thing with Peele is I'd actually like to see him do a comedy, because we know that he's got comedy chops, and there are not a lot of great comedies out there. And to see him switch up, we know that he can. And we know now what he's able to do on all fronts too. I wouldn't want to see him do another Twilight Zone type movie, because he did that already.
Well, I mean, he's actually doing a Twilight Zone series.
Is he doing this series?
Jordan Peele. It's funny you guys were talking about.
But I'd love to see what he does in comedy.
Well, I would love to see. I'm the opposite. I've seen him what he did with comedy.
Directing?
Yeah, I mean, technically Jordan
Key and Peele was like a pretty good smattering of
and it's like he's probably directed a lot of those, even if he's not credited. They wrote it. I feel like he's kind of flexing what he's into, and like if he was a secret horror nut this whole time, which it feels like he has been, he's got a lot of things to do, and he's got a lot of things to say. So I want to see what other films Jordan Peele wants to make. So I'm excited about that. Krasinski as well. Incredible director, but he's already done a few other types of films, so I wouldn't pigeonhole him into, well, he's a great horror director. I don't think his next film will probably be either horror or I don't know what it'll be, but
I think he's up for some like Mars movie or something.
Right. He's doing a science fiction film. You're absolutely right. So I mean, I'm excited to see what all of these actors turned directors are great, but I think I'll stick with Jordan Peele.
All right, our next question is around iconic horror movie characters, and it is with Pennywise being in it, and the movie's not even a year old. Do you put Pennywise up there with the iconic horror characters of all time? So from that question, I surmise we're talking about
Freddy,
like your Michael
Jason.
Myerses, your Freddys, your Jasons, your Annabelles of the world. Yeah. Has Pennywise passed Annabelle for you, Kristian Harloff?
Yes, Mike. Yeah, absolutely.
Was that Pennywise?
Kind of, because I forgot. Okay, Judgy. Yeah. I absolutely is, because I think that he did it when Tim Curry did it back in the day. I think, and I think that Skarsgård's Pennywise is way better than Tim Curry's, and I love Tim Curry's Pennywise. So he is absolutely an iconic heroes. He's a hero to some, I guess, but he absolutely.
there's some young villain out there growing up with a fat head of Pennywise.
Yeah, Pennywise is my hero.
I think that Pennywise has absolutely put himself in that upper echelon of those horror villains, and we're going to see even more so, because he's going to be anticipated when he comes back. It's in that second movie. You're going to wait to see what the hell this creepy clown is going to do next.
Yeah, now, Schnepp, I mean, he's kind of got, I don't want to say a glass ceiling, because he only comes back like once every quarter century, whereas Hellraiser, Pinhead can just keep cranking out those directed, video on demand movies anytime he wants. Is Pennywise above Pinhead?
Quality over quantity, Mark Ellis, is what I'll say about that. Look, Pennywise had that one appearance. I would never sell Tim Curry short, because that TV series, it sucked hard. It was horrible. And the one thing that sticks out is Pennywise. I mean, that Tim Curry's role as Pennywise has become so iconic, only shows you why that his acting as that stupid clown, his look as well as his acting like it just went over because the movie itself, that series does not hold up. The It movie really does, and Skarsgård helped to put Pennywise back on the map. So that's why I would say, yeah, I mean, Pennywise from just the TV series alone was probably in that same zone as Salem's Lot and a lot of these other kind of, one and done type creatures and characters. It wasn't with the Freddys and the Jasons and the Michael Myers. And now I feel like with the new It film and the It sequel coming out, that the Pennywise character has now joined those ranks of the the more branded 80s horror icons.
All right, we have one more question, and it comes from an old favorite, Rocky Drago66 says, do you think that Glass, when it comes out in January, has a chance to break the current record holder for domestic opening weekend in January, which is currently held by American Sniper at $89 million? That was a fitting way to close the show because we opened talking about Infinity War breaking box office records. So let's go to January, as Kristian has coined it the toilet bowl of the movie season. At least it used to be, but now you get movies coming out year-round that have potential, which Glass are, coming off a Split. Do you think that Glass has any shot at breaking that record? Is it $100 million opening weekend kind of stuff?
I don't think so. No, I mean
60.
Yeah, I would even say like 75 million is like tops for me as far as Glass, because look, I mean, I loved Unbreakable, but that movie came out like 20 years ago or something, and then
Did you like Split?
I thought Split was okay. I mean, I'm split on Split, to be
How did
blunt.
it do?
It did.
overall?
It did pretty good.
Split did very well. Yeah,
weekend-wise.
Yeah, let
It
me
made
get back
quite
to you on that.
it made quite a bit opening weekend, more than they had suspected, and it was for everyone who was like a Shyamalan fan. It was kind of his return.
Close.
I mean, look, he did The Visit, which was a really cool, creepy, strange, low-budget horror film that was a return to a little bit of his twist ending kind of stuff, but it also was really fun to watch. I found Split was in the same boat. Just the ending didn't do it for me. The secret ending, which we're all talking about now, that they revealed Bruce Willis's character, was kind of fun. But because I didn't enjoy the movie as much, I was like, oh, okay. I'll just wait for whatever they're going to do next. If they are going to do it, or if they're like, it seemed weird.
How many times have you seen it?
Huh?
How many times have you seen Split?
Once.
See, because the thing is, I saw it twice, and the only reason I say this is because I felt the same way when I was watching it. I was like, I hate this movie. Then when I went back and watched it the second time, knowing that secret ending, it's a different movie.
I might watch it a second. In fact, I guarantee I will watch it again before Glass comes out. I'll watch Unbreakable and Split together, and then go see Glass. But I'm happy to see that because Shyamalan over the years has been talking about
Again?
What?
In the ballpark. Close.
Shamalam ding dong.
All
right,
I'm getting further away.
I'm getting farther away. But that fella, he's been talking about this. Like, I've got a sequel to Unbreakable. And whenever I'd hear that, I'd be like, I want to see that movie, because I thought Unbreakable was a great kind of realistic way of doing a superhero movie. I mean, none of these are ever realistic, but it was like as close to if somebody had crazy superpowers and some other guy was the villain. I love the setup. So I'm glad to see that they're bringing Sam Jackson back as that character, Glass. Yeah. So it's like all those things to me are cool. I just don't think I don't think it's in the collective unconscious yet, where people who are like go-tos with Deadpool or Infinity War. I think it'll be like a lot of the sweaties know about it, and a lot of horror fans will also be like into wanting to see it. But I just don't,
I think promotional material is going to play a large role in how that movie does, because we don't know how much they're going to give away. We know Shyamalan famous for maybe holding back some stuff in the trailer because you don't want to show everything. So Split made $40 million opening weekend, which is an achievement, because that's all word of mouth. Yep. And back then it was still like, does Shyamalan really have it back? The Visit was good, but what's he going to be able to do with this? Right. So The Sixth Sense was like $25 million opening weekend, because that movie had to gain momentum. Everybody had to start talking about it. Unbreakable, $30 million opening weekend. This is back in the early 2000s. Signs then blew it wide open. $60 million opening weekend. The Village on the heels of that, $50 million opening weekend.
60's his biggest?
60, I believe, is his biggest.
Yeah, yes. I think we'll get close to that. I don't think 100 is close, because I think that became like, even Split wasn't a massive, huge hit. It was a nice.
138 domestically,
nice.
and then another 150 internationally. So it did very well.
It did very well. But I still think that people are going to be like, okay, cool. Some people still have no idea that it's an Unbreakable sequel. But for those that saw the movie, obviously they do.
They're going to know once they see the trailer for
or this episode of Movie Talk.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that the movie itself is it's a smart thing to actually put it in January. January is still the toilet bowl movies, and that's why it has a chance to do very well, because I believe it's going to be a quality movie. Normally, studios stick stuff in there, the movies that they thought were going to be good that turned out crappy in production, so they stick them in. They stick them in January, or like the low budget horror film. They don't want to market it, so they stick it in January. It's $2 million to make the film. They stick it in January. This is not the case. This is actually a quality film. They're sticking in January because there's nothing else to see, and they hope the money goes there.
All right. Well, sans one quick appearance from the Shit Rats. This was a pretty clean episode of Movie Talk. Don't you be a shit rat and spoil Avengers Infinity War. For anybody who hasn't seen it, very proud of the panel here today. Make sure you check out all of our Infinity War related content, whether you have seen the movie or you still haven't seen the movie. Plenty of stuff for you to watch right here on Collider Video. For Kristian Harloff and Jon Schnepp, I am Mark Ellis, and I will see you guys with Perry Nemiroff and John Roca tomorrow for another episode of Collider Movie Talk. Bye. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.